Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute pleasure and honor to be here. And particularly to share the podium with Mr. Sharma and Mr. Kapania. It's truly an honor. So what am I going to talk about? I think everything is said, starting with Dr. Couturier, Mr. Sharma and Mr. Kapania have covered it all. So what I can talk about is a little bit our perspective from a technology standpoint. So I think last year, if you guys recall, I think most of you were here, we were talking about disruption. And I think I had a statement there, so this disruption will create an acceleration for this country and for telecoms business. And I think today, hearing the leaders of the industry, I think I'm of the belief that it has moved into that zone. And what an optimism, despite of all the disruption that has happened in the industry, what an optimism. So I would say congratulations to the industry. So let's move, if we move to the next slide. Okay? All right, so the first one then, 3 points to make. The first is digitization. I think you all talked about how big is this the opportunity? And I think, Cisco does a couple of researches every year. We call it VNI and the Optimization and Monetization Index. I'll give you a glimpse of that. Then we look at what role SPs are really playing in this moving converged industry. And then a little bit about technology. So let's move to the digitization. What's happening? I think there are many forces coming together, whether it's mobile, which is ubiquitous today. We're moving to increase the speeds, 3G, 4G, you all heard about it. Social is on fire. I think we see that getting into the behavior of every consumer in the country. And you heard about Mr. Sharma talking about software stacks. He talked about analytics, data being the single source of truth and guiding the policy. I think all of these forces are coming together to create an inertia, what we call digital vortex. And the digital vortex is going to bring everything in if we do not address it. And you see a lot of data points there, all these things are moving at a pace that's unprecedented. We always thought telecom was a changing industry, but the change is at a pace which was never dreamt of, right? So here are a few stats. I think looking at all the trends that are happening, looking at how leaders of the industry are thinking and the vision that was laid out this morning, I think we're very convinced that our crystal ball, that's spitting these numbers out, are probably again conservative. We watched it last 5 years. The stats that we give out, we fall short in India. India does better than what we predict we will achieve in India. I think we're talking about 829 million broadband subscribers, 21. We're talking about per household consumption of 42 gigabytes. We're talking about average speeds of 18.2 megabit per second. And I mean, listening to Mr. Kapania, I think, again, this looks like we're on the conservative side. But having said that, I think all these are leading into India into a hyper growth. Last few years, I think we interact with SPs almost on a daily basis. I think they would ask us 3 years back, get me the best practice from the world that I can go replicate in India. I think we have honestly reached a stage where best practices have to be created here because no one else out there has the scale, has the appetite, and has the consumption patterns that we have. So I think that is, we all as an industry have to be proud of that, but I think the few things, of course, we need to address to make that happen. Here is that number. I think it's an economic opportunity of $600 billion. I think it looks, if we look at what we are generating as an industry today, it looks really huge, but I think there is explanation how we get to this number, right? So, role SPs are playing, I think environment was discussed, I will not cover more, but we believe the growth is going to be 40-fold next 4 years. I think numbers we've been quoting here are, again, conservative. We are seeing that the traffic that is generated today, almost 82% of that will be video, right? And what we're also seeing, which is a phenomenal shift, just if I go 4 quarters back, I think none of us were discussing projects and automation, network function virtualization, and cloud. And I can tell you with confidence, India is moving at much faster pace than the rest of the world. And that is why I said we cannot bring you best practices from elsewhere. We've got to go create them together with you. So there's a lot of innovation that has to happen, the co-creation and co-development together with SPs of this country. Here are examples. I think we believe service provider is very central to realizing the theme of digitization. I think Mr. Kapania, you alluded on this, you presented very well. Here are a few examples. Proof is in the pudding. And all these digital masters that are creating multi-billion dollars of market cap, they are residing on your networks. And you are core to making them successful. And I think time has come that we turn our networks into digital platforms so we can go reap that economic activity that's getting created and take a share of that $600 million economic opportunity within the SP sector. So then going into the technology piece, I think I'll try to keep it short. I think this is honestly,
You have a huge customer base consuming data at an extreme rate. Streaming video, on demand, every device, virtual reality, augmented reality, Internet of Things, every place that has a thing. Data analytics flooding the network. New apps coming from everywhere. Viral, unpredictable, consuming your infrastructure resources like a black hole devours galaxies. Digital media distributed around the world to a zillion devices and formats. And not just for news and entertainment, but for critical moments in our lives. Remember this guy? He said, change is the only constant in the universe. He didn't mention how fast it would come. Broadband usage is increasing 50% year after year. Over half the world will soon be connected to the internet. That's not growth, that's an explosion. And 82% of it will be video. Great, because you're not busy enough, right? In the crucible of this massive change, your customers are dependent on you to deliver more speed, more efficiency, more reliability from a network that's safe and highly secure. Because let's face it, a network without security is, well, ouch. How do you stay ahead of change that hits you faster than a roundhouse from one of these guys? You respond like a ninja, like a team of ninjas, and move faster than change by predicting it. What if your network was smart enough to anticipate the data, adjust itself instantly, and redirect when things get in the way, or heal itself when something goes wrong? Exabytes, zettabytes, no problem. 10 gigs to the home, piece of cake. Bottlenecks, things of the past. And network engineers become conductors of an orchestrated, virtualized, highly secure platform of networks built on the strong foundation of Cisco cloud-based infrastructure and services with analytics, training, and support that makes adaptability like a rapid deployment. So instead of taking months to create new services for customers, you can do it in minutes. I said minutes. Enabling profit creation, not cost inflation. Cisco helps you get more out of your current network while adapting to the virtual network that's built for the cloud-delivered app world we live in today, so you can really deliver the goods. There's never been a better time to transform. Cisco, your foundation for transformation.
all right, so I started, then this video played. So I was saying, honestly, there's no other place on earth today, which can come and give you case studies that you should be doing. I mean, I said, we got to create it here. I think this is kind of state where we have been last couple of years, and I think we have to fast change. We have lots of silo accesses. We have talked about access or transport. We've got, if you look at the platform layer, where all this intelligence should come included, that's again siloed. And then I think we talked about open APIs, we talked about software stacks. How do we now use this resource to create services that can go digitize any vertical that benefits from digitization? And I think here, from a technology standpoint, we believe that you need to consolidate, you need to collapse the layers at the bottom. So network has to become converged, consolidated, and it has to be used as a pool of resources, whether that's network, whether that's compute, whether that's storage. It's a pool of resources that you're drawing on. The second step, of course, is to create a platform. Platform has the intelligence and it draws resources from all these multi-billion dollars worth of equipment you've laid down out there. And then on top, you got ability to create services. I think we call it service creation, which is basically the value that you bring to the industry, all the verticals. I think health, logistics, any industry that is benefiting from digitization, you got to go take this capability that you have built over years. And what is key, I think both of you mentioned, Mr. Sharma and Ms. Kwanya, that you'll be successful if there is a wrapper of security around this, because that's highly critical. A lot of data that's getting generated now is at the edge of the network. And if you do not have ability to treat it then, first, you cannot extract the value. Second, you don't have full wrapper of security to make sure your enterprises, your small, medium businesses, and consumers feel safe to use it. And the last piece is, making networks like a platform. So they should self-heal, because the amount of data that you're talking about, the multiples of petabytes and the number of industries that you're going to address, it's humanly impossible to manage it. So that is why these platforms have to start becoming self-healing, okay? And I think that is kind of true North Star I think we are headed for. And what are the key tenets then? I think it's not only about technology. I think technology is moving faster. I think you'll get virtualization, you have automation platforms. We're simplifying the network, single RAN, single IP networks, and so on and so forth. But I think you're going to attack it at three fronts. The first one is, of course, transform the business. This is where digital masters, some of the examples I showed, are stealing our pie, because they are riding on our infrastructure, the multi-billion-dollar infrastructure we have laid out, and they don't leave much on the table for us to share, the whole entire value chain. So that's the key, transform the business and look at how we can charge differently. Second piece, of course, is transform the architecture. I think that's work in progress. And then the last one, your only differentiator in this digital era is the customer experience. And it's not about speeds and feeds. I think it's about when I, as a consumer, am using your service, how seamlessly it works on my device. I think that's the key. And then, if I sum it up, I know I rushed it a little bit. I think these are, from my point of view, 4 or 5 key takeaways. Digitization is not a disruption. It's an enormous opportunity of creating incremental revenues, right? The second one, simplification and speed is the key. I mean, we have built networks over the last 20 years. It was a 2G network. It was built for voice. I think we're now changing it fast. I think there's a lot of balls in the air, and unfortunately, we don't have time to catch them one by one. We're going to go attack them all together, and I think automation solves it for you. And I talked about customer experience being the king. And what's very critical is that networks have to be open. The architectures have to be open, because, I mean, I'm one of the vendors is standing on stage. I think we didn't have ability to offer you that capability. It was proprietary and so on. But I can tell you, the entire industry behind you, the vendor community, is really focused on making this possible. And I think this is critical because if it is there, then you can create an architecture that's self-dependent. It's not driven by proprietary standards. And then the last one is the service creation. I think this is a piece of the revenue puzzle we missed. And with all the investment you guys are making, I think this is where you need to double down, because if you double down on this and you create enablement for small businesses, I think enterprises all are thinking digitization, but it is those 800,000 small and medium businesses ranging from 6 employees to 300 employees that are hungry to be digitized, and that's your role as SPs to enable them. So I'll like to stop here. Thank you very much.